Nihongo wakaranai ne. On this video of the Altair 8800 assembler terminal video, I am going to go over how to do string input on CP/M in an easy way so that we can prepare for opening files. Now this here is a very easy way of doing this. You can actually create your own subroutines, but you don't actually really need to, because the Altair 8800, well, CP/M has a little line editor that you can jump to with a BDOS call, and it will do line input. So let me show you how to do that. Let's go into the B drive, WordStar. Okay, so before I go in and show you, I've cleaned up the code from last time a little bit, fixed some comments, made everything lowercase because I like that style better. Added a few defines or a few equates in there, make it easier to use. That code will be in the link below, and then this new code will also be in the link below. Also put it in that previous video. So let's open it. YA term, sum. Okay, here we are. As you can see, there we go. I did WR line, which is short. I have it short for write line, for the BDOS call 9. Now for read line, EQU 10. That's going to be the one we're going to use. And also we're going to do something called iBuffLen. iBuffLen is the length of the buffer you want to be able to type into. This can be between 0 and 128 bytes. We're just going to do 100. It could be 64, it could be 16, but I have enough RAM to spare and whatever, right? So let's go, let's use this right away. We're going to create an inbuff this size. Let's go all the way down to the bottom. And don't you love WordStar and how slow it is? Okay. So I'm going to do inbuff ds data string. Now this is cool. You can do iBuffLen, which just basically what it says, I need a string x long. In x, in this case, it's going to be iBuffLen, but we're going to add 2 to it. We're going to do +2, not plus that sign. I will show you why later on in this video. Always remember your new line. Let's go up to the top again. Actually, let's go up to, yeah, we can go up to the TTY. That's where we're going to have to start editing code. Okay. So right here, right after CPI 24 JZ exit. So remember, CPI 24 is Control X. Now, what I also want to check for is, so I want to check for Control X, which is exit. I want to check for Control S, which is to send a file. And I want to check for Control R, which is to receive a file. So let's do that. Let's do CPI. Remember, Control S is 19. Check for Control S, and then JZ S file. So if 0 is set, jump to S file, send file, and then let's do it for Control R. CPI 18. If check for Control R, JZ R file. If 0 is set, jump to R file. Okay, that looks about good. Now let's dive down below the CRT function. You don't have to do this format. I just really like having the exit at the end and not the data at the end. You don't need to do that, but just, you can. Okay, now we said S file and read file. There's my little dog. Bye, Scout. She's looking at the stairs. Scout, are you going upstairs? There she goes. Oh, she's so cute. Okay, anyway. Let's see. So the first label function we're going to do is sFile for send file. Now, what I'm going to do is, what I want to happen is once you hit Control S, it jumps to this function, and I want it to do print a new line, go to a new line, then print out a message for you saying file to send, and then I want the cursor right here, and then I want you to be able to input your file name, and then once that happens, when you hit enter, I want it to then do a new line after the enter, and then you're able to go back into the prompt, essentially into whatever device you're using. Essentially jump back to the main loop. So we're going to do this, call new line. Now new line is a function we have not made yet. I'm gonna put it right here, new line. This is a very, very, very easy function. So we have LXI D and line. And this is just gonna load load DE with inline address. And then of course I need to MVI move immediate C to right line, right? Because you do BDOS right. Set up right line BDOS call BDOS subroutine, and of course return from subroutine. Okay, so that's new line. And end line, let's make end line. Let's move down. Welcome. Let's do it right before inbuff. And line DB, we're gonna do carriage return, line feed, and then termination character. Okay. Now let's go back up to sFile. Love it here. Anyway, so new line. So print new line. So we printed the new line. Now I want to print the message file to send. So we're going to do that. So LXI, you know the drill, LXI D SFL TXT. It's going to be send file text. Load DE with SFL TXT address. MVI C right line. Set up right line BDOS call, and then call BDOS subroutine. You know, this is all very, very standard. Now, once you've printed the message, then I want you to be able to input your message. So I need to call in the reading I need to call the read subroutine. So we're going to make that call read in buff, call read in buff subroutine. Okay, then once we've read in the buffer, I just want to print another new line. Call new line, print new line, and then I need to jump back to loop. jump back to loop. Now, note, once I figure out how to open up files in CPM assembly using the file control block and just crazy things like that, I'm on the verge of it. But once we do that, we will insert the file opening routine right here, and we'll continue. Okay, now that we have the send file function, let's do the receive file function. Now the receive file function is literally the exact same thing, just with different text. For at least right now, it's the same exact function, but with just different text label and a different file, different function name. So let's do that. So I'm gonna put it down in here. Let's see if I remember these word store commands. KB is beginning of block. KK is end of block. And then if I move it down, KC is copy to cursor. Yes, and then KH is to hide block. Awesome, so then I can change S file to R file. And then I can change S file text to R file text. And boom. Okay, now we got that done. Let's put in the S file text and the R file text messages. We're going to put it right before end line. Let's do S file text db. Let's do file to send with a termination character. And let's do R file text db file to receive. There we go. There we go. Okay, now let's move back up. Okay, so right here, let's put our final, well, almost final function. We're going to do read in buff, and if you remember, we call it from the receive and the send and receive files. This is what's going to allow us to type in a file name. So this is how this works. So first I do LXI load register pair D in buff. So remember, in buff is way down the bottom. So load DE with in buff address. Hang on. There we go. Then we're going to do MVI C readline. That's going to set up readline BDOS call, and then of course we need to call BDOS subroutine. Now here's what inbuff looks like right now. It's 100 bytes with +2. Now you might think that those +2 are at the end, but actually they're at the beginning, because once you hit that enter button, that enter key on your terminal, all the keys that you've pressed get shoved into inbuff, but at the first address, the first memory location in inbuff holds how long your buffer was set to. In this case, 100. The second byte is how many characters you've actually typed. And the reason we're using the readline function here, BDOS call, is because it actually has a little, CPM has this little line editor that will handle the backspace key, will handle some like control RK and other commands so that you can move back and forth along the line. It'll handle all of it. So we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just using what CPM already has. So basically, what I need to know is that the first byte is how long your buffer is set to. The second byte is how many characters you've set, or how many characters you've typed. And then after that are the actual characters you've typed. There is no termination character. And that's what we're going to be putting on right now. So in order to find the termination character, LXI H in buff plus 2. So load HL. Oh, there she is again. Hey, Scout. Scooter. Oh, Scoot. I think she likes the keys hitting the keyboard. She comes down here a lot. Anyway. Oh, dog hair. Anyway, we load HL with the start of the buffer. Then MVI D0. Now here's a really cool bit. So you know DE is a register pair. So D is the high byte, E is the low byte. So what we're going to do is we're going to load DE with the length of how many characters you've typed. So HL is the start of your typed array or typed buffer, and then DE is how long that's going to be. But we have to set D to 0 because the buffer can only be 128 bytes long. So set high byte to 0. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move M to E, HL by reference to E. Move HL to E. This is going to be buff length. Okay, so next we do DAD D, which is double register. We do DAD D, which is add register pair to HL. HL. And then what we do is basically HL is now at the very end of our typed buffer. Not the entire length of the buffer, but all the characters that we have physically typed. So what we want to do is we want to add a termination character to the one after it. So let's do that. Let's increment HL. Increment HL. End of buff. We're using buff to denote your typed buffer, not the full buffer, not the in buffer. Then MVI A to there. We're going to queue up termination character, and then we're going to move by HL reference the accumulator. And what append termination character to character to buff. Boom, we are done. And now ret. Return from subroutine. Okay, so that I think is the last bit of code we have to do. I will assemble it and we shall see if it works. Let's see. Let's see. ASMY term. Oh, it assembled. A load y term. Let's turn it on and try it. Q M200. That looks right. Let's do Control S to send. File to send. Let's say hello. Well, that didn't work. So after not too long of a debugging process, I found out that I've actually skipped a few lines of code that I should have put in here. So after the LXI D in buff, I need to be able to tell the readline routine a little bit more information. So what I need to do is I need to do mvi move immediate to a it I buff len. So load iBuff len to accumulator, and then once I've done that, store accumulator by reference to store accumulator to double pair, store pair, store iBuff len to DE, and then you can call the readline and all that stuff. Also, I don't know why I told you guys to do inbuff plus 2. It should have been inbuff plus 1. So let's try that. Control S. Control Q. Let's try again. Yes, a term. Start power cycling this. A load y term. Y term. Q M200. Looks right. Control S. Hello.txt. And there I am. I'm back into the prompt. Control R. Hello.txt. Boom. And there we go. The terminal is now set up in such a way that we can now move on to opening files. And that's going to be a bit of a bear. I'm working very hard on it. I'm working very hard on it. The manual is actually extremely great. It's just, I don't know, I just can't wrap my head around it quite yet. But once I do, I'll figure it out, I'll put it in here, and we shall move on with this project. Until then, take care. I'll see you next time.